I am Reverend Rosemary Hyde. This is Living Peace Now, and we are beginning a discussion about how do we think about making peace in the context of Putin's invasion of Ukraine. It's a challenging and very important decision and thought that is not what I planned for today's discussion, but it can certainly lead into the discussion of identity. Let's kind of relax and slow our breathing. I'm not trying to suggest that we go into meditation, but we could stand to center a little. And I think everybody, I couldn't sleep 2 nights ago when I first heard about the invasion of Ukraine. It's really disturbing, very disturbing, that this action has been taken. For me, it goes right back to World War II and all the thoughts of that. And it's not World War II. So that's the first thing I've got to stop thinking. Mm-hmm. It is not what I'm connecting it with. It is whatever it is.
I think we have to be very careful with disconnecting, because I was doing the same, I was doing it with Vietnam because I lived in Vietnam. And I think we have to be very careful that we don't give food to thoughts.
Yes.
That we really remain in the peace thought.
Yes.
And we are 100, actually we were 100 years back, or even worse, we are in Middle Age, where people are fighting for land.
Right, exactly.
It's,
yes.
It makes sad.
Yeah.
Because it's such a lot of suffering, which is not necessary.
Right. And yes, exactly. When whatever it is that we start to think about, we're actually creating that experience in the world. So as we respond individually, how we can effectively be peacemakers in this situation that I think naturally reminds us of previous war experiences, or that we've known about, that we've had in the past. And what we know about our thoughts is that whatever we give energy to, whatever we spend time on, spend energy on, we are creating it. We're making it more and more likely to happen in the world. So Anne-Marie is correct that we do not want to give this event energy, which means when we become aware of it, instead of calling it war, for instance, that's not how it's been labeled. It's a military action. And Putin has been actually very careful not to say he's going to war. It's been everybody else who's thinking about it as war. That's not what we want to do. We want to be aware of what is true, what is going on, and to then at least for ourselves, say something like, this thought has no power over me, no power over the world. That would be the first response, to deny the power of what Putin is doing as anything significant on the world front. Unfortunately, that's not what people are doing. So it would be helpful if we could discuss it with people we know and suggest that they too deny that this is war or anything like it. Take away the power of the idea. Take away the reason to fear. Because the fear also will duplicate itself with everybody that is afraid of what they think might happen. This is not truth at this point.
How about if we use the golden key?
Yes.
Instead of thinking about what is happening, we think about higher consciousness or love or something like that. I think it is easier than to deny something. You know, when you deny, you still have the picture of what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. The second step
that's how it's working with me, you know. But
the second step is replacing that picture with a better one.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you do that, Harvey?
Yeah, instead I'm going to watch my breathing. And then while watching my breathing, I'm going deeper within myself. And there I open up golden key. It can be God, it can be Allah, it can be higher consciousness, it can be the creation,
Higher
it can
self.
be love, higher self, it can be love. And because if you deny something, you still have the pictures.
That's true, but it is a good first step.
This is why
it's something you can do quickly and easily.
That's right. Because if you go for a protest, for example, to town against war, you actually give force to war. So
That's true.
you should go for peace.
Yes.
That's why in your title you have living peace now and not being against war now.
That's right. Exactly. Because that is where the power is.
That's right.
So let's together now in our centeredness think about Vladimir Putin and think of him as one with us, as a human being who is afraid. And as you become aware of his fear, send him loving compassion. And picture a lot of people seeing him with compassion. And sending him love as a human being who's afraid. If somehow he can feel that love, he won't need to do what he's doing. And at the very least,
Hello?
when we do that, we are not empowering the vision of aggression or the fear. And so it is. Now, how do we communicate that action, that response to other people?
Could it be the power, empower him to correct the situation?
Say more.
Empower him to correct the situation. Give him the courage that he's not losing faith, in contrary, that he is getting a better face.
Yeah.
He is correcting what he's doing right now.
Right.
And apologizing.
And also realizing that whatever it is that he's afraid of, maybe
of losing face.
Maybe that's a little bit, well, yeah, losing face is kind of an add-on. What's the original fear? Is that, something about not having a big enough area between him and Western alliances. We've been thinking, reflecting about the threat, the apparent threat to peace that is going on right now in the world, and talking about, okay, as peacemakers, what's the best way to respond to that? And what's the first thing to be aware of? I don't know if you heard this, so I'm reviewing it. Anybody?
That it's a political action. It's not a war, as it has been defined by some.
Right. People have used the word war, and that is not what's happening at this point. And so we don't want to add energy to that false idea. That's the first thing to be aware of is, okay, we humans have a tendency to go right to the worst possible outcome and say this is happening. It's not. That changes, I don't know, changes my response to it, just to change that idea. Because what I'm responding to is my story, in which I'm assuming that this is a war. It's not a war. So getting that straight is a good first step.
And you know that can be difficult, because I know with my neighbor, he came out the door, well, it looks like we're into another world war. That was the first thing he said to me, you know, and instantly I just felt these horrible feelings all over. And
yeah, you feel it. When you use those words, you feel the negative energy of it. Holy cow, that one's overwhelming. You know, and that is not the best way to respond to a threat, because what we think tends to happen.
but what do you say? I was kind of taken aback and just listened mainly. But what do you say? Because hate is as passionate as love. And, you know, it's real hard to know for me what to say in the moment, or what.
So what you're going is hatred for this guy, right? That's what you're thinking of? Hatred for Putin?
Well, yeah, I think that's where the war and this is a war and that it does tend to be on the hate side. So,
yeah, I mean, there is a thread of hatred going through our responses. Do we really want to put that energy out into the world?
No.
No, not at all.
So what else can we do?
Embrace him.
Yeah, love. The opposite of hate is love. How on earth can you think of loving someone who is doing that to other human beings? How can you justify that? That's the challenge. How can you see him so that he deserves love?
In my visualization, I see him just like I have others, as a little boy, you know, because that little boy is inside him.
That's true.
And that's what I speak to, is that innocent feeling.
Right. Okay. Move down the size. Make him small and helpless and afraid. And then you can conceive of sending him love, that aspect of him, that afraid little boy. And that's not a bad image. That would work. You gotta be able to believe it.
Yeah.
That's
but
the
I
key.
wouldn't like to go out with him, you know. No dinner with me.
Right. And the fact that
Isn't it taboo? He was
the fact
laughing.
that we are connected means, you know, it's worth doing that.
I tried just
Alibaba.
to have a drink with him, no dinner.
Yeah, right. I agree.
At the bar
Alibaba.
with distance.
Listen,
1.5 meter distance.
that table,
Virus safe.
that table is also a really hard image to overcome, because clearly he is distancing every human being from himself, and in a way that's, if this were not such a serious situation, it would be hilarious. It would be funny. It would be ridiculous. So, yeah, but we can't respond to that image right now. 50 years from now.
It's fantastic we have COVID right now. So we need distance, you know.
Well, yeah. And he's
1.5 meter distance.
Yeah, exactly. How long is that table? Holy cow.
1.5
Alibaba,
meter is quite some distance, you know.
right. Is this making any sense to you, Alibaba?
Yes.
Excuse me.
Does this,
I
are you
just
getting,
I just
are you-
listen. I just listen because I speak French, but
Yeah.
English I speak just a little bit. I'm beginner.
okay.
Yes. I have been I've been 4 months here in the United States.
Oh,
Just for
cool.
4 months.
Where are
Yes.
you in the US? What state?
I'm in Ohio.
Wow. Way in the middle.
Uh,
Cincinnati or Cleveland?
Cincinnati.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Cincinnati. It, no. So it's the first time when I assist to this lessons.
Okay. And congratulations for coming.
Thank
because,
you. Thank you so much.
The more you listen, the more you'll learn. And it happens
Exactly.
pretty quickly. Alors,
Effectively.
je vais résumer ce qu'on disait. On parlait de l'agression de Poutine contre les Ukrainiennes. Et
oui, la crise de la Russie et l'Ukraine.
Oui,
en fait,
voilà.
Monsieur Poutine, il a voulu de faire la troisième guerre mondiale. Et il n'a pas pitié des enfants, des familles et des grandes personnes.
Et voilà justement de quoi on parlait. Parce que quand on regarde dans le futur et on prévoit le résultat, le pire résultat possible, on facilite cette expérience. Alors, il faut trouver des moyens de ne pas empirer la situation. On doit trouver des moyens d'envisionner des résultats bénins, enfin, qui ne sont pas nuisibles.
C'est-à-dire il faut trouver un compromis entre les deux parties.
Oui. Alors, ce qu'on disait, c'est que d'abord, il faut ne pas dire que c'est une guerre ou que c'est la troisième guerre, parce que ce n'est pas encore ça. Et on ne veut pas faciliter que ça arrive. Alors,
oui.
c'est une agression. C'est Vladimir Putin qui a peur de quelque chose, qui lui fait agir comme ça. Oui?
Effectivement,
alors,
oui.
Oui. Alors, si on le voit, si on le conçoit comme un petit garçon qui a peur, on peut avoir de l'empathie avec lui et on peut l'envoyer de la compassion. Et cela est une meilleure façon de répondre à cette situation parce que ça n'énergise pas la guerre, la vision de la guerre.
Effectivement. Et
Bon.
parce que aucune personne ne voulait faire la guerre, en fait. On voulait vivre dans la paix.
Exactement. Yes. So that's what we were talking about. And yes, it's a crisis. It is not a war. It's an act of fear by
Effectivement.
someone who
Exactly.
can harm people, and he's afraid. And so we need to
Yes.
see him, see his fear, and treat him in that light. C'est difficile, mais il vaut bien la peine.
J'espère qu'ils vont trouver un moyen d'apaiser les deux côtés et de faire la paix sociale pour les deux pays.
Oui, exactement. Et les Ukrainiens, je ne sais pas comment dire cette nationalité, ils n'ont pas beaucoup peur, paraît-il, parce qu'ils ont l'habitude de Poutine à côté d'eux. C'est bien.
Oui.
Parce qu'ils n'ajoutent pas d'énergie à cette vision. Alors, enfin, soyons des artisans de la paix dans nos pensées. Merci, Anne-Marie. So,
j'espère.
Go ahead.
La chère assistante, je ne savais pas, est-ce qu'ils comprennent le français ou bien juste moi et vous qui parlent le français?
Enfin, nous sommes beaucoup ici à parler français.
Très bien.
Abou, Anne-Marie,
Abou, il parle aussi français?
Karen, un peu. Blanche, je ne sais pas. Mais
Et Abou?
Abou, oui.
Il sait le français.
Bien sûr que je parle français. Oui.
Oui. But I think we need to come back to speaking English. I just wanted to make sure that Alibaba knew what we're saying, what we're talking about. Okay, so this is also part of our identity, who we claim that we are. Can we actually claim that we are peacemakers?
Sometimes.
Good question.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, good question. And it's a good question to ask right now. And I've been asking myself this for the last couple of days. How do I be a peacemaker in this situation? So I've appreciated this discussion because it has certainly clarified that issue. That, okay, I mean, it's not different from a personal conflict, and I knew that was true, but how to deal with something so much bigger, it's frightening in and of itself. Ça fait peur. La pensée de la guerre.
Ah oui.
So, you know,
c'est effrayant.
Thinking how to get out of that fear, I think, is really important because everybody's fear is collective. And the other thing, it's really important to communicate that thought with your friends, with people who know you and know your crazy, different way of thinking. Tell them, hey, we can't call it a war. It isn't a war. We're just making that up. That's the story we're telling. And that makes it all the more likely. It encourages Putin. It kind of pushes him to do that because that's what we're expecting of him. And people like to satisfy expectations of other people. So we're putting him in the chair, if you will, of a warmonger. We're saying, you are creating a war.
Mhm.
What do you expect him to do?
And as we give the word more power, he feels the power,
Exactly.
and that it is powerful to have a war.
Mhm. Or at least we're saying it's powerful.
Yeah.
Came across, I think it's an Indian proverb. We have two wolves within us. One wolf is a good one, a good chap. And the other one is a terrible one. So actually we are asked, which one are we going to feed with our thoughts?
Oh, I like that.
Me too.
That's good.
Because it came also on about another picture, because this was really shaking me up quite a lot.
Yes.
And I came once across the thing that we as human beings, we are microcosms within a macrocosm. So if we are microcosms, this means we are having everything within us, good things, rubbish, everything.
Right.
So it depends on us, which one do we want to give power, which one we want to look at it. So we can take the rubbish, or yes, and we can use it as fertilizer. For example.
That's true.
So I really had to adjust certain things within my head, because I really was taken up with pictures from the past. So
Right.
so the wolf is quite okay. I can also take two cats, a nice one, that's mine, and another one which is
Yeah.
a little bit more angry and more aggressive. And definitely I will feed my cat, which is very gentle and things like this.
Right.
Yeah, or the small boy having fear. It's okay too. Taking by the hand and go with him to the people in the Ukraine and ask him to say, "I'm sorry."
Yeah. Boy, that would be amazing.
That would be amazing, yeah. It would be a fantastic step.
Yep, I agree. Blanche, what?
I had a different way of dealing with it.
Okay, let's hear.
Well, I had some time ago actually stopped listening to the news.
Right.
And the news outlet, because I realized even before this, even with myself becoming and wanting to be a peacemaker.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to look at myself, and one thing about news media and commentaries and stuff, it incites fear.
Yeah, that's true.
It incites hatred. It incites such negativity. There's really nothing positive. And so I turn that off, and it's like what you say, which part of me do I want to feed?
Mm-hmm.
And in taking that in, I realized that's the part it was feeding.
Yes.
And I got tired of living a life of anger and standing up and being defensive. And so when this happened, I've also heard people say, oh, we're going to World War II. And I'm like, no, because in cutting off news outlets and commentaries, I realized that there's more peace and love in the world. And that's such a small population that tries to bring in a lot of negativity and stuff. So when I looked at this, I just saw it for what it was. It was an invasion. This has happened for years, many countries. It wasn't always a world war. I prayed for the people who were affected. I prayed for the best outcome physically with what was going on, economically, how it's going to affect a lot of people around the world, and praying for those people. And in doing that, it took away the fear of it. No different than when you look back on something and say, you know, how the worst isn't going to happen.
Right.
You know, like almost like if you have a phobia.
Right.
And phobias come from fear.
Phobias
But
are
when
fear.
but when you look at history and how many times things like this has happened, it wasn't always some great war.
Right.
It, you know,
That's
so
true.
that's the way I had to look at it. And when my sister, she was talking about it, I said, I can't go there and let it affect me emotionally about something I have no control over.
Right.
And this is something I can't do anything about other than getting myself riled up, afraid, angry.
Right.
And I don't want those feelings.
What you can do is what you're doing. And I think you made a very important point there, that if we say stop and we take a breath and we look around us, most of the people that we know, they want good things to happen. And to become aware of that, you know, there's more love than there is hatred in the world, and to, you know, really consciously put ourselves in the loving group. That is also a very powerful way to be a peacemaker. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I thank you all for this really helpful, awesome discussion. And I invite you guys to reach out and discuss this with friends. And, you know, when they get it, ask them to reach out and discuss it with their friends. You know, what are we actually doing to make peace or encourage war?
Right.
Are we identifying consciously as peacemakers in this situation? And I have really benefited from sharing this topic and hearing you guys. And I thank you very much.